Hey you guys, what's going on? It's your big dreamer and doer G Dinero coming to you today with another TA Tuesday, helping you increase your financial literacy. But first, remember, none of this is financial advice. This is helping you read the charts today. That's it. It's not tax, legal, financial, investment advice. It's helping you be able to read the charts so you can help decipher for yourself what's going on with the markets. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, we're going to start off today with the Bitcoin chart. Wow, what a wild ride it's been over the last week. A week ago, we were talking DeepSeek and how it was going to be the competitor to OpenAI and Anthropic and some of these other companies. That fell by the wayside. This week, it was the tariff war that went into place over the weekend. And by Sunday, the markets were tanking. Things started hitting lows for the last few weeks that they've been at for the last few weeks. And Bitcoin was no exception. Once the tariffs kind of fell by the wayside, at least for Mexico and Canada, I think the Chinese ones are still in place for now, then Bitcoin, as well as all other risk-on assets, tended to make a recovery. So what do we see here on the chart? Well, what we can see is that Bitcoin basically came down and bounced almost perfectly on the 100-day moving average. That's the red line that you see going across the screen right there. Now, it did wick down, back down to this 91,500 level, like it has done not once, not twice, but about 8 times over the last couple of months. It's hit that same $91,500 level. So this is no surprise that we wicked down to that level again. This time, printed a giant green mean reversion dot. What does that mean? That means it was significantly oversold. Needed to be bought up. Easier way of saying it. It also was out the bottom of the even bearish confluence cloud, which you can see here. I just traced the edges of it. So we were down below even the most bearish of expectations on the confluence cloud. That's right down in here. All of those things signaling that a buy signal was probably coming up. And sure enough, on the 4-hour chart, there's the buy signal we were looking for with a confirmation as soon as the trend flipped. Now we pulled back again and we're resting on the 50-day moving average today, right? Yesterday we broke through it. Today we came back and pulled back to it, but we do look to be supporting right on that 50-day moving average, which coincidentally is right around $99,000. Things look to be poised to go up for the rest of the week at this point. I don't know that it's going to skyrocket up. A lot of that depends on what David Sachs says later this afternoon. It's not the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, but they're calling it something else. I'm blank. Strategic Wealth Fund or something like that. Sovereign Wealth Fund, I think is what they're calling it. So there may or may not be some news there. The next one is going to be Solana, and Solana very much the same. By the way, almost every risk-on asset is going to have a similar type of wick down and a fast recovery. So same thing here. We wicked down and actually wicked right through the 200-day moving average, pulled back to the 50% fib level, this 188 that we've pulled back to a number of occasions. Threw down another green mean reversion dot. What does that mean? That means that it's significantly oversold. We then had the buy signal kick in. And by the way, all of this, you can just see it here. All of this took place right along the bottom edge of the even most bearish of confluence clouds. So I keep my confluence cloud on twice, both on bullish and bearish. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head on over to investanswers.io. Check out the products there. It's all part of the IADSS suite of indicators. So tag the bottom here, threw down that green buy signal. Trend started to flip back orange, flipping back blue right now. So kind of indecisive, but notice that we're skidding along on both the 50 and the 100-day moving average. The 50 and the 100-day moving average are separated literally by a couple of bucks right now. So this 210-ish area, 210 to 215, is looking to be support right now. That looks like it's the short-term floor, at least in the immediate future here for the rest of the week. Things do look like they're starting to turn around there as well, subject to whatever kind of news we get later on today. Tesla, we're going to jump into Tesla next. Tesla had a wild ride this week, right? We had earnings since I talked to you last. We had earnings back last Wednesday. You'll notice it's red. That's because earnings was a miss, meaning it surprised to the downside on both earnings and revenue, which we kind of knew that was coming. The gross profit margins that were reported were lower than what people wanted to hear, but lots of exciting news about what's happening in the future. And that's what caused this crazy green candle that we see right here, where we wicked all the way down to 365 and all the way back up to 412 in the same 4-hour period. That green candle right here that I'm hovered over, giant green candle. A lot of that was initially the earnings report looked poor, but the guidance that was given. Wall Street always wants to know what's coming up next, what's coming up in the next 3 months. And they liked what they heard, not just what's coming in the next few months, but by June, there should be robo-taxis driving around Austin, Texas, giving paid fare rides at that point, meaning people are paying to go get in a robo-taxi and get driven around Austin, Texas with no driver in the driver's seat. That's exciting news. By the end of the year, he also said he's hoping to have over 5,000 Optimus robots dancing around, but some of them in the Tesla factories, right? So that's another thing there at the end of this year. And then he said that 2026 and 2027 basically would knock your socks off. Wall Street liked that. That's why we got this bump over here coming out of earnings. We then dropped down again because of the tariff wars, right? Again, not knowing how these tariffs are going to affect U.S. companies. With Tesla, good news for them is they source a lot of their product locally. So the Chinese factory in Shanghai sources its products in China. The U.S. factory source theirs over here in the U.S. So hopefully that means that it will not be as affected, but that's what this drop was. There was a small gap down. Oftentimes gaps fill, so you'll notice there's a little gap down. I think it was from 402 down to like 397, so there's a $5 gap right there that needs to fill. And that's right around the same as the 50-day moving average. 50-day moving average right now on Tesla, believe it or not, is right at $400. So that's what we're sitting on right now. We just printed a giant green mean reversion dot, giant meaning it's down at about minus 1.3 standard deviations below the norm. That's significant. I'd be on the lookout for the trend to start to turn back up, reclaim this 50-day moving average. Next up would be the 78.6 fib level at about 410 to 415, right in that range there. And last but not least, we're going to jump into MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy tends to follow Bitcoin, and what you'll see was at the open, it gapped down hard. Here was the close up here on Friday, up around, what was that, 335 it closed at roughly. And it gapped all the way down to below 320 here coming out of the gates on Monday morning. Quickly came back up and refilled that gap, reclaimed it after printing a green mean reversion dot, more than one standard deviation below the norm. You'll note that we did support, yes, we broke down below it, but we did support at this 50% fib level. Tends to be the trend. We supported at it back here, right here. We did break below it, but quickly regained it here. Supported on it a couple times here as well as back here. So, and almost wicked down to there at this point. So that's been support there at that 325 range on multiple occasions with MicroStrategy. That's kind of the low spot of the range it's been trading in. The high spot of the range is up. Sorry, I thought I was still on the drawing tool. High spot of the range is still up here around that $400 range. So this is kind of the range right now, 325 to 400. It does appear that Saylor has stopped buying Bitcoin for a little bit. Last week, no sales, no shares were sold, no Bitcoin was purchased. This week, it's looking like it'll be the same going into earnings tomorrow. Excited to see how they treat earnings tomorrow. I think the market's starting to get a little bit excited. Will it be a sell the news event or a buy the rumor event? Who knows? I tell you what, trading earnings is oftentimes difficult. One thing of note is that the 50-day moving average did turn down just a little bit and is now right around 364. Next up would be the 61.8 fib level as resistance. We should break above that on good news. We'll see if the news tomorrow, maybe everybody's expecting the FASB accounting to be taken into account. If that doesn't happen, if they don't do that yet, and it's a disappointing earnings, could drop back down here to the 325 or back down to the 300 range, which was this gap that needed to be filled from before. Again, a lot of uncertainty going into earnings. Earnings are oftentimes difficult to trade. I tend to sit tight. My bets are already placed, so to speak. I've already got the MicroStrategy in place. I'm not doing covered calls close to the money right now. I would only do those on the spikes up. So when it spiked up over here, I did some $400 covered calls. Yes, they were tight to the money, but I only sold them 1 week out and they expired on Friday worthless. I did roll those to this Friday. We'll see what happens. Maybe playing with fire a little bit, but it was just 1 or 2 covered calls that I did there. So I hope you found value in this today. If so, go ahead and give a like to this video. Comment below. I promise I'm going to be drawing a couple of free winners for my courses. I offer courses on not only TradingView and technical analysis, as well as the Invest Answers paid set of indicators. I also coach people on how to buy and sell options, how to trade options, both calls, puts, the buying, the selling side of things, combining strategies into things like synthetic longs, synthetic shorts, bull call spreads, bear put spreads, all of those different things. It's just a combination at the end of the day of putting different option strategies together. I coach on all of those. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. That's where the winners for the courses are going to be chosen from. And again, I hope you got a lot of value out of today's TA Tuesday, as I call these, and stay tuned for more like this in the future. My goal is to help you increase your financial literacy so that you and your family can be on that path to financial freedom. This is G Dinero signing out. Take care. We'll see you soon.